All right. You should have a text file, and if you'd like, you might even have a PowerPoint, depending upon if this is going to be used in some kind of major setting. And we're going to go to part one, the relationship. First thing is, being instructor is an amazing responsibility because we're transferring knowledge to change the lives of listeners. And so this is what we're talking about here. A great instructor. We're not talking about just a person teaching a class. We're not talking about somebody doing a CEU seminar. We're talking about somebody who's considered profound. In other words, you're making a difference in somebody's life. They're going to think back and say, you know what? I had this happen. I've been doing that for 40 years. I've been teaching classes. People come to me and say, you know, Mike, 25 years ago, you said this in the class to me, and I never forgot it. And I'm thinking, I don't remember saying that. But yep, I would have said something like that. So people are remembering things, and you got to realize you're sowing a seed of information. And sometimes I'll teach a class to somebody who doesn't want to be there at all, zero. And I'll tell them, get out of class. You don't want to be here. Come back when you're ready. See, that simple little thing is that I know the person is going to be great. And I said, listen, you're going to be amazing. This is not your time. This is not your place. You don't want to be here. You come back when you're ready. So we're making a difference in people's lives. So that's number one. It's an awesome responsibility. Ryan?
Well, you know, you talk about the responsibility, and I know I can, and I'm pretty sure anybody watching this probably can. Can you remember the name of your fourth grade teacher? Or seventh grade teacher, whatever. I can, and I bet you guys can too. And when that hit me as an instructor, that people remember me, that really was a game changer for me. That really made it soak in that what I'm doing is there forever in people's lives. And that's something that I think as an instructor you really need to be remembering. You know, how you talk to people and making sure that you're supporting them and not demeaning them and not belittling them. It is a great responsibility.
I know I'm affecting their grandchildren. I know that.
Right.
I know that because I'm going to change this person's lives, which is going to change their son's life or their daughter's life, and then it's going to affect their grandchildren after that. I know, I hear people say this all the time. Some of you guys say it to me, and people around me say things that I've said. Little might call cliches that I say. And little tiny things that describe a very profound thing distilled down into 4 little words and something like that. And I hear other people say it to other people, I realize. So we're extending ourselves into other people's lives, and then that's extending it on. It's a matter of which way we're going to do it. All right, let's go on. Here's an example of the relationship. Everybody you see in this class here, this was taken, I think, last year. This is students that took my very first class in 1975. This was in 2014. That means 39 years later, these guys are still taking my classes. Pretty profound, because I have a relationship. I've committed my entire life to these guys. And every one of those guys, trust me, are very successful, wealthy people because they listened to what was going on. I made a commitment to them. The instructor is helping the student learn. The student is evaluating the instructor's ability and commitment to them. We've all taken classes and seminars, and you look at this person, you realize this person's not even here. This person doesn't even care. Matter of fact, I took a seminar one time. It was at an IEI meeting in Michigan. And I was in this seminar. I was supposed to speak, and there's a guy speaking before me. And this guy was talking about a topic that nobody cared. Now, I care about a lot of things, a lot of useless information I'm actually interested in. You know what I mean? But this was information I wasn't interested in, and I'm looking at the audience, and everybody was gone. They were totally zoned out. This person was speaking as if nobody was in the room. Didn't even care. Just was talking. And I was like, wow, are you not noticing what's going on around here? Do you not see that you don't care and they don't care? And we'll talk more about that relationship. Let's get into 1.1, the introduction of relationships. What are the students' needs? They need help. They're freaking out. They're stressed out. They need counsel. Somebody put the hand over the shoulder and say, hey, listen, come here. Let me talk to you, buddy. And it might mean yell at them. Hey, come here. You're an idiot, okay? You're a total idiot. You got so much going for you, and I'm not going to give up on you, and I'm going to stick with you. Here's my cell number. Here's my email address. Here's whatever the case may be. They want wisdom. look, I know what you're talking about. And you know where wisdom comes from, right, guys? That comes from what? Help me out, Brian. Where's wisdom?
School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. That means what?
You screwed up.
We screwed up. Right? Like, okay. So the next person, listen, hold on. Listen, trust me, I've already gone down that path. And here's what happens when you're not prepared. And this is, because I already done. It's called wisdom. So you want to get a hold of somebody. You want to help them, counsel them, and you want to give them the wisdom that they need. And they need inspiration. They need to have somebody believe in them. We had a conversation at breakfast this morning, all of us, and we're kind of wondering, well, what drove us? I mean, here I'm a high school dropout kid. I had nothing. I had no father. I was talking about poor. Anybody watching this DVD know what really poor is? I never lived in a house my entire life, till I bought my own house. I only lived in people's rooms and in basements and in places for 3 months here and 6 months there, and reform school because lots of different reasons, not because of a bad kid, but because foster child. So, I mean, I didn't have anything, and Ryan, and we'll talk about the else, all of us were struggling, okay? And we needed the inspiration to make the difference in our lives. We survived ourselves, and we went above that level. So we need somebody to come up here and say, hey, listen, we can change your life. They're afraid. Even though you're the instructor, it should be about the audience. I remember back in the 80s when I started becoming well-known, and I started being Mike Holt, that kind of stuff. And I got really arrogant. About 83 till about 87. I almost went out of business. God, took care of that problem right there. And because it was about me. I'd come in late in the class. I'd leave early in the class. I mean, honestly, I didn't really care. It was all about me. It wasn't about the audience. It was about me. Well, we got it. It should be all about the audience. How do you slide designs? How do you create your program? What's the content you're working from? The nonverbal behavior, how the whole package comes across. What are you communicating with your body language? In other words, are you prepared? Engaging questions should all be about the audience. Watch them. Prepare for them. Well, I just said, not about you. It was about me. You guys ever go through that where it was all about you and you really, you didn't care that much about them? I mean, you cared about them, obviously, you're a teacher, but it wasn't like that, I'm fanatical, worried about the people that I'm teaching, that I want them to understand for multiple levels. I mean, I'm an electrical instructor, so we're talking about electrical safety. So, I'm fanatical about that. I'm really concerned about people. But I wasn't always that way. How about you guys? You guys didn't get to that level. Not level, but you didn't get to that point where. But you know what? Everything we're talking about as we go along here, not everybody experiences that at this time. Ryan Jackson, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you might be like, hey, I'm kind of cool. I'm the hot guy here. I don't know about it.
Well, I think, taking it to a little broader scope, maybe not necessarily presenting, teaching, instructing, but I think we've all done that at some point in our lives about something, and it doesn't matter whether it was a sport or whether it's our job or whether it's teaching. I think we all get full of ourselves and forget really life is not about you. Really life is about everybody else, and I think that's a good thing to kind of remember.
Okay. All right. The next point I want to make, the relationship that we're talking about, understanding your role here, it begins before the class starts. Meet and greet your students. And I've been pushing this for years. Here's an example. I get to my class, it starts at 8 o'clock. I'm there 6:30, and we're talking 600 people in the classroom. How many of you guys been in my class and seen me that early in the morning like that? We're talking 600 people. I will make it a point to meet every single person starting at 6:30 until the 3 minutes before I go on stage. I shake the hand. I touch them. Why are you here? Are you the first time taking my class? Yeah, I'm your first time. Why did you take my class? You've always, all these years. And so I get to know them. I get to talk to them. And I've done seminars where, thank goodness I've done this, because I go there and I meet the people. I'm like, these are not the kind of people I thought I was teaching. They thought I was covering a different topic, or they have an attitude about the situation and that. And I'm like, Good thing I met these people in advance, because you get to know some of the people are going to be a problem. You guys have any experience on this at all? Brian?
Oh, a seminar that I just went up and taught recently. I thought I was going up to teach to electricians, and it ended up I was teaching a bunch of generator guys. And if I hadn't had a chance to talk with them prior to the course, a lot of what I was planning on covering would have been irrelevant and not been able to really make a difference.
Brian?
I had one about 5 months ago that absolutely blew me away. This was in Utah. It was in November, and this was a class of about 20 people or so. It was for the Home Builders Association down in southern Utah. So everybody had to have continuing education, including contractors. And I didn't realize this, but plumbers had to relicense like a week after my class, and they could get credit for taking my class as a plumber. So I had a class of about 20 people, of which 15 were plumbers. So talk about changing your topic, changing your approach. These guys didn't know anything, and what was fantastic, I had so much fun in that class, and they all came up to me afterward and were thrilled. They loved it. They said, "Man, I learned so much, and I didn't know, But how different would that have been had I not known that? I'm assuming these guys are journeyman electricians. These guys aren't even apprentices. So yeah, it's important you know who you're talking to.
I just came back from Pennsylvania or someplace up north, and I'm getting ready to my speaking for Swimming Pools and Spa Association. I found out these are all pool contractors. I'm like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a pool contractor. What do you do? I'm a pool contractor. I'm like, are you guys all, well, Mike, it's a Pool and Spa Association meeting. Like, this is the pool contractors that made him. Like, I never thought that there was pool contractors in there. I thought they were the electrical people that did swimming pools. And so I had to okay, let me go change my program now before I get started. So, I mean, imagine if I just go on there thinking they're all electricians and what the dilemma would have been there. All right, let's go on. From the opening, let them know your common goals. It's all about learning. We'll talk about the process of teaching and presenting, but I'll just kind of mention quickly here. The first thing I see, the biggest mistake, and you might want to write this down, that I think instructors make, the number one mistake is, and I see this with pastors in churches all the time, is the number one thing is, I have no clue what this person is talking about. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the beginning is. There's a middle, and sometimes there's no ending. Sometimes there's a middle and an ending, and I'm like, but what was it talking about? So I try to be very, very careful. This is the beginning. This is what we're talking about. This is the middle. And then there's an ending that makes sure we tie it all together. And I don't have a lot of different things going all over the place that you don't. I mean, pastors do all the time. They give all kinds of examples and they talk about all kinds of things, which is great. They bring other illustrations, but they get so far off, and they're talking about, say, so many other issues that I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't know what it's about. So we're going to get more into that, but look at this slide right here. From the opening, let them know the common goal. What are we here for? And I make it real clear. When I teach, and I don't anymore, but when I would teach for the state of Florida contractors exam, what was my clear goal? To teach you to pass the test in 7 days. We start at 7 in the morning, this is a true story, and we go to 11 at night. We do that 7 days, and that's a huge burden on me. Clearly, we're going to get you to pass the test, and we're going to do everything we possibly can. You ask me a code question not related to the class, I'm not answering that question. You ask me a question about a calculation that's not going to be on the test, I'm not answering the question. Yeah, but here, I said, no, you don't understand something. We're totally focused, and we're only going to stay focused on the type of questions, the type of issues. We're not going anywhere else because that's not the goal in this class. And I need to get everybody to buy in on that particular goal, and then we're all working together as a team. What are we doing here? So that's an important thing. The next thing, be careful when teaching for an organization. Know their objectives for the session. Here you are, you go into some program and you're thinking you're going to do something, and then you find out, but this happened, solar somebody organization, I'm going next week to Colorado. And they said, Mike, can you come and do this for the solar people out somewhere in Colorado? I got to take multiple planes to get to, and I got to rent a car. And I'm like, I'm sure it's a beautiful place in Colorado, but it's not going to be easy to get to it, okay? And so I'm going to do this program for them, and then I'm thinking I'm going to be doing a train-to-trainer because these are all solar guys that are trainers. So I'm teaching the solar guys that are trainers. We get it all ready to go, and some conversation comes up, and it's like they're going to have me cover solar. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go for a 4 hours seminar all the way to Colorado, teach all your trainers about solar. That we don't need. What you need is you need me to teach you how to teach, how to communicate the information you want. So here, we already had a disconnect getting started. I'm thinking, Mike, we got about solar instructors. Can you come out here to a program? I said, sure, no problem. So I'm thinking, what? Solar instructors, train a trainer. We're going to get these guys up to speed. They're thinking, oh, good, Mike Holt's going to come. We got Mike Holt coming, all kinds of, for the instructors, for them to answer the technical questions. So we had a disconnect. So we got to be very, very careful that you truly understand what the organization is looking for so that you don't disappoint the organization. Because a lot of times, and also an important thing is, if you're doing it for another person, you better get their flyer. I've even had this. I'm starting a seminar, and guys say, Mike, that's not what you're supposed to cover. I'm like, it's not? No. Well, what am I supposed to cover? The flyer says you're covering this. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I got to open up a different PowerPoint, right? You've been there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes, these little mistakes made. I did one program one time, it was in Boston. I made a mistake on the code changes, and I used the wrong PowerPoint. I used a 1-day PowerPoint for code changes on a 2-day change seminar. So by lunchtime, I already finished up day 1. I'm thinking, so these little mistakes, Ryan.
Yeah, and this is so important. You talk about teaching code changes, and you have multiple files that cover code changes. And as an instructor, if you're teaching for different organizations and you're teaching code changes, you need to plan on having different ones. I have a code change that is just commercial, doesn't even mention houses. I have a 1-day, I have a 2-day, I have one that just covers the major changes in residential and focuses the rest on just commercial, So you definitely need to adapt based on who you're teaching.
A 1-day program?
If you ever want to be invited to come back.
A 1-day program, a 4-hour program,
Right.
a 1-hour program, a quick little introduction, this is what's important for us to be prepared to know what the goals are and to have the tools that you come in there, you introduce yourself to the students, you get to find out what's going on, you make sure you got the right program inside there, you know what the objectives are, everybody's on the same place, and then we're moving on. All right, let's go on. Your objectives isn't running the show, but aiding in the learning. This is not about you, it's making sure that we help the student. Here's an example of an organization. If I'm going to do a seminar for a contractors organization, right? I'm going to sit down with that guy and find, okay, well, let's talk about the topics you want me to cover. Well, we want to cover this. So making sure we take care of the organization. So it's not only the student, it's the people who are hiring you to do the job, is to make sure that you do the job properly. 1.2, get the student involved. Ask them questions that relate to the situation. Get into their heads. Use the word you or your. Build a relationship with them. It's hard in this scenario here as me recording a DVD with my team, my buddies, and then we have people that are watching this live streaming. It's kind of hard to demonstrate some of the characteristics that I'm talking about, what I do. You'd have to actually see me teach. But what you'll see is I'm always engaged in I'm asking, so how many people have seen this? Who's ever seen this? How many times you guys ever done this? How many guys have ever, so I'm always trying to get people who thinks it should be this way, who thinks it should be that way. I'm always getting people to try to raise their hand, to participate. I said, listen, we're just working here, give an opinion. You might be wrong, okay? So get them engaged in the process. Don't let them just sit there by themselves and you lecture the whole time. Next one, pay attention to their eyes and the body language. I mentioned earlier that one thing in Michigan. It was like, and I'm sure anybody watching this DVD that was at that program knows exactly the story. That was like 15 years ago, where I was stunned. I was like, oh my gosh, do you not see what I see? Everybody was sleeping, reading a newspaper. They didn't have iPads at the time and iPhones at the time there, but everybody's getting up, going to the bathroom, getting water, talking to stuff. I mean, I'm like, there's nobody in the room even paying attention to this person. I would have realized, obviously the person did not meet him before he started, did not find out what they needed. There was a disconnect somewhere inside there. They didn't care.